Okay, let's move on. We've just been talking about the menus. The menus also include a PlayStation 4 image enhancement feature. Now, we didn't really
Yes.
know what that was before we actually went hands-on with the unit. We were thinking maybe it's just like, okay, extra horsepower means better image quality and dynamic resolution scaling games, but that's not the case. It is a feature that's toggleable on the menu, and it does actually do something quite interesting. Now, Oliver, you're going to be doing a full video on this, but how about some cliff notes on your observations?
Yes, I'll give you the rundown here. So essentially, you boot up your PS5 Pro, go into that display settings menu. There's an option to enhance image quality for PS4 games. It says enhance image quality in the settings for PS4 games. It's turned on by default. So if you boot into PS4 software, you'll kind of figure out what's going on pretty quickly, I think, if you turn the setting on and off, which is that you see quite a noticeable difference in the appearance of those games. If you look at 2D elements like UI and text, they actually look quite 4K now. Text is a lot sharper. 3D content is also altered considerably, like in a game like Destiny, where the aliasing artifacts in the original have been smoothed a little bit. The lines look clear. The image almost looks like it has anti-aliasing that's being performed in a 4K pixel grid, so it kind of aligns with a 4K pixel grid there. So it looks a bit cleaner. But when you do resolution counts, you quickly realize like, okay, this is a filter because the base game content is still being rendered at the same resolution. You're not getting any kind of additional grunt there. You're really getting a post-process filter, it appears like.
Right.
The issue is that it doesn't really do anything for temporal aliasing, given that it's probably working on a single frame as input. As a post-process, it gets tripped up pretty easily by post-processing. So if you have like chromatic aberration, it doesn't really know what to do with that. If you have film grain, like I played The Order, and it just doesn't really know what to do with it, so it doesn't do too much, it seems like, because there's film grain all over the image. It also doesn't seem to apply to games that output above 1080p. So like in Overwatch 2, for instance, that's a 1080p game, but the UI is 4K. It doesn't apply at all. So I think it's a good idea. I think it's cool. I have done some comparisons that I'll go into in a standalone video with LS1, which is a lossless scaling machine learning algorithm. I've also done some comparisons with FSR, with the RTX super resolution that's available on NVIDIA GPUs. And it is kind of comparable to those solutions, I would say. It's giving you a better image in a lot of respects. It
Mm-hmm.
can give you a noticeable improvement, but it's not going to be a game-changing improvement. It's not going to be like DLSS or PSSR for that matter,
Mm-mm.
or FSR2 or any of these other solutions that can do so much with so many more inputs, obviously, than a simple post-process filter could glean from a PS4 software. So I think it's
Okay.
a cool idea, but at the moment, it's kind of a nice-to-have feature. Don't buy a PS5 Pro for this. So basically the takeaway. But it's nice. It's nice to have it. It's nice to see
Mm.
Sony caring about this stuff. And I think it is kind of cool for these older PS4 titles in particular, where they can't take advantage of PS5 Pro very well normally, right? That we can go back and we can maybe get a post-process enhancement that could run on the GPU there. That could be nice.
Cool. John, you gave it a go as well, right?
Yeah, a couple thoughts I have. I really like what it does for 2D elements, like user
Yeah.
interface, text, fonts. It makes them genuinely look like there is additional detail being resolved. It's not just like an upscale with sharpening. There is actually some additional detail there, which is really nice. But along those lines, I also tested Pixar games because I was a little bit concerned that it might interfere with the image quality there, and thankfully it does not.
Oh,
It
cool.
actually produces, so it actually works well for 1080p pixel art games. Normally, the PS5 would upscale it to 4K based on your output, and you would just get kind of a softer scale, right? So it makes the pixel art look a little bit softer than it probably should. With this feature enabled, it actually makes it look noticeably correctly scaled and sharpened without really adding noticeable artifacts to it, which is what I was worried about, given the different direction that they go with that kind of art. So
Cool.
that's a positive as well.
Okay,
The
so
3D
Yeah.
stuff, though, it's like you said, Oliver, not game changing, but interesting.
Yeah. Like for instance, in Bloodborne, which is a game that has a ton of
Mm,
chromatic aberration and lots of aliasing, it kind of doesn't do much for the 3D content. But you look at the UI in Bloodborne,
yeah,
and it's like, wow,
gorgeous.
this is like almost 4K native UI. Like it looks really good, and
Exactly.
it is creating detail in that text in particular that
Mm-hmm,
you would not
mm-hmm,
see with
mm-hmm.
like something like FSR1. It's quite compelling in that instance. But it's kind of, some games it's compelling, other games it's not. Most of the time it's like nice to have, but not essential to have, essentially.
Exactly.
Well, I'm going to look forward to your full video on that one, Oliver.